All right, joining me now, let's go to the aforementioned House Speaker Mike Johnson from Louisiana. Speaker Johnson, I loved your quote. It's the beginning of the end of the shutdown. Very Churchillian. I like that very much. But but at the end of this whole thing, they're basically going back to your CR. I know there's a few add-ons here, veterans construction, military construction, but basically they could have just voted yes on your CR in the first place. And I don't understand how stupid this is. And I think millions of Americans are very aggravated over this.
They are, and you're right, it was stupid, to use your word, and my word is utterly pointless. I mean, 40 days, we've had the country wandering in the wilderness because of the Democrats' intransigence, and they've made the American people suffer needlessly. And at the end of all this, you now have a handful of Democrats who have come to their senses. They're prepared to do the right thing, reopen the government. They're going to do, Larry, to your point, exactly what we asked them to do weeks ago. I mean, all of this was really for nothing. And it's so sad that they have used the American people as their leverage, that's their own quote, as pawns in this political game so that Chuck Schumer could have political cover back in New York. I mean, it's really unconscionable.
I don't understand it. He didn't even get, it's the idea of political coverage. He may be in a lot of hot water himself. Actually, the New York Giants just fired their football coach. That could be apocryphal. I wonder if Mr. Schumer is looking at that. Such things happen in life. He didn't even get that. And the left wing of the party is probably furious at him, so the Civil War continues. I mean, Mr. Speaker, I don't understand it. I've seen a bunch of these before. I've lived through a couple of these before. I don't understand it. I am glad, if you get this thing done, maybe you could just walk us through, sir, some process. Now, it's not quite a done deal. As you say, Churchillianly, it's the beginning of the end. So what must happen? We need to get a vote in the Senate, and then what happens, and then when's that vote going to come?
Well, that's the big question right now. The latest update, I'm just down the hall from the Senate chamber. Rand Paul, maybe a couple others are gumming up the works, so to speak. They're holding this up a bit because they have a couple of little parochial priorities that they want to use as leverage to get the final vote. But we're hoping that they will fast track this. I mean, if they wanted to, they could probably drag this out into the weekend, but that would just exact a whole other level of pain on the American people when they can least afford it. So we're praying that they get about the business, fast track this thing. I have already put the House on notice that all members are to be headed back to the Hill right now. I would like for us to be voting on this as early as Wednesday, which would be the quickest we could process it if the Senate does their work. And I think we'll get it passed off the House floor, get it to the president's desk. He is anxious to have it. As you know, he is very anxious, happy to get the government reopened, and he's been working on that every day since this shut down.
You know, it's interesting to me, sir, the stock market rallying today, almost 400 points on the Dow, and the techie stocks, everything went up today. I mean, I'm not going to badger you on the stock market, but, Mr. Speaker, I think the message here is people would rather have the government go about its business. Even though I might not like a lot of the government business, the fact is certain things have to be done. I mean, the military is one of them, the airplanes, the airlines, the controllers. We don't want planes crashing in the sky. That government minimally should stay open. I mean, I think that's the stock market message. I don't know if Democrats understand that or who understands it, but that's got to be part of the message.
Well, that's right. I mean, obviously, you and I are limited government conservatives. We want a smaller, leaner government that's smaller in scope and does things more efficiently and effectively. But there are essential services that must be performed. It's not just troop pay. It's Border Patrol and TSA agents, air traffic controllers, as you said. A lot of the essential functions of the federal government that must go forward. And we can't hold it up. And I think the markets also respond. They want stability, obviously. They want things that are foreseeable. They don't like this unrest and disruption. And what the Democrats have proven here is that they're willing to take the country hostage for political stunts. And it didn't yield anything other than really shake the confidence of the American people. So we're ready to get back to that, to begin governing again, but get back to the regular legislative session. And we've got a lot on our plate before the end of the calendar year because the Democrats took so much of that time off of that schedule.
Mr. Speaker, President Trump has suggested that some of these air traffic controllers who walked off the job, which is illegal, should be fined. He's also saying those who stayed on the job should be getting a $10,000 bonus. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I like the concept. I mean, the devil's in the details. We have to figure out from where that money will come, and Congress has to allocate the funds. But look, it's a very stressful job. They were doing it without pay, and our hearts go out to them. A lot of sympathy for the people that already have a difficult task ahead of them. But then when they're not sure how to feed their family, it adds a whole another layer of complexity on that. So I've got a lot of sympathy for the people who, at great personal sacrifice, are still doing that job, and they should be rewarded for it.
President has also suggested, very interesting, tariff dividends or tariff rebates to families and individuals across the country. If I'm not mistaken, that will require congressional appropriations, but I wondered what you thought about the idea in general.
Well, I think there's some merit to it. I mean, we'll have to figure that out. It would require congressional action. But, you know, a lot of us are concerned about the national debt as well. The president is also, of course. He and I talk about it all the time. And so, the discussion would be if you have trillions of dollars in new revenue, what's the best use for it? Should you pay down the debt? Because that saves families a lot of money in the long run and puts us back on sound fiscal trajectory. So there'll be some intense fellowship over that, as we see in the Deep South, Larry, about what to do with this revenue. But there'll be a lot of good uses for it. Well,
I think he's trying to tie it to the tariff sort of tax cuts and tariff cuts. You have a quick thought on the Supreme Court and whether they're going to rule on the emergency tariffs that Mr. Trump has been using?
We're trying to get a good read on it. I mean, I wouldn't place too much emphasis on the oral argument. A lot has been said about the arguments that were made in the court last week. I used to be a federal court litigator. I did appeals cases, so I learned a long time ago, early in my career, don't put too much stock into the questions that are asked by the courts, the judges. Sometimes they'll do something unexpected. But I think it's close. It's probably a 5-4 opinion one way or the other. I hope that they uphold the executive's use of that authority. You know me, I'm a jealous guardian of Article 1 of the Constitution. I mean, the legislative branch is the most important, and I'm in charge of that in the House. But I don't think the president has overstepped his bounds. I think he's used that tariff authority wisely, and it's given him leverage in the strategy on these trade agreements. It's a lot of good has come out of that. I think the court should give deference to the Article 2 branch, and hopefully it continues.
You know, just speaking about that, rebates and tariffs and so forth, foreign policy has got to be an important part of that decision. What about the idea of using direct spending on some of these health care programs? You know, give it to the individuals, give it to the families. Don't go through the insurance companies. Use health savings accounts, things of that sort, Mr. Speaker. Is any of that wash with you?
Yeah, I think there's some really important ideas that are entwined in all that. The problem with the Democrats is that they've created a healthcare system that never worked. I mean, the Unaffordable Care Act was unaffordable from the very beginning, and it's driven premiums up, skyrocketed since it was created in 2010. Since then, the Democrats' response has been to throw more money at a bad and broken system. And subsidizing the insurance companies is not the answer, because it just drives the cost up even further. So we need to look at the root causes. The Republican Party is the party that is working on that, has been working on it, and has more ideas going forward. We got to bring down the costs, and you can do that in a responsible way that also increases access and quality of care. And we got notebooks full of ideas on how to do that. We got to build consensus around it.
Last one. I know you're busy. We appreciate your time, as always, for these interviews. The idea of affordability. I mean, because you have blue state victories re-electing Democrats, I don't know how important that was a week ago in the elections. Some people think it was. But my question to you is, does the GOP have to do a better job selling everything inside one big, beautiful bill, the economic growth aspects of it, you know, getting inflation down and getting real incomes up? We've had a lot of foreign policy successes through the president. He's doing some magical things. There's no question about that. But some people are saying, now let's focus on the economy. That's where affordability comes from. Joe Biden's was awful. Trump is improving on it. Do we need a better job on that? Marketing job, communication job, more time spent on talking about it, sir?
Yeah, sure. We can always do that. Remember, we have the headwinds of the mainstream media that are always parroting the talking points of the other side, and it's not always based on fact. In fact, It usually is not. But we are the party that is delivering on affordability. And the one big beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, was geared and written for lower and middle class earners in this country. And they're going to feel the positive effects because, as you know, Larry, that bill is full of pro-growth policies that are going to make all boats rise. All the aspects of that bill have not yet been implemented, but they will be. And as we go into the new year and we glide into the election cycle, people are going to be feeling that. And I think they'll reward the people who put that in place. Remember, the Democrats' solution to everything is more government, and that is not the answer. That will only make it worse. They grow government, they spend more money, they would spend us into oblivion. So you need common sense back, and that's what the Republican Party and President Trump are delivering.
You know, right. People should not forget how affordability crashed during the Biden years with an inflation rate that was up over 20%. Real wages went down. Somebody in the White House just told me the other day, $3,500. It could have been $4,000 decline in average working folks. Already under Mr. Trump, they're up. They're recovering by $1,300 or $1,500. I mean, isn't that the essence of it? I don't recall. These are the Republican candidates in the in the off-year elections. They didn't remind us about Biden. That whole election was fought about Biden. And that's what big government socialism does, sir.
Exactly right. Bidenomics was a disaster for the country. They spent far too much, and that's the reason the inflation is up. The cost of living is up so high because of the policies of the previous administration. Now, we're working to root those policies out and implement our own, but as you know, it takes a little time. You don't just flip a switch right after the election and everything transfers over. So more of this, the more time that goes by, the more they'll feel the positive effects of what we've done. We are restoring common sense and fiscal responsibility to government, and that's long overdue. And thank goodness we won that election in November, because the country would have crashed into bankruptcy by now.
House Speaker Mike Johnson, thank you, sir. As always, we appreciate your time very, very much.
Thank you.
All right.